You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte, your host and White House correspondent, joining you live in afternoon drive time right here in LA, where I'm in touch. And so you be in touch. Follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nii-Quartelai. Just type in Dr. Nii-Q. There I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app to listen to us live or on demand, or just tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel. You know why? Because you don't just get to hear us in action, you get to see us in action. And if you're feeling froggy, you can just hop into a More Perfect group chat and sound off, be a part of the conversation. And for added measure, if you haven't already, subscribed to A More Perfect Union podcast powered by KBLA Talk 1580. And that way you can catch some of our most memorable interviews. And so you may not have time to watch the full episode of A More Perfect Union, but maybe you want to catch just some of the most memorable interviews. And so if that's the case, be sure to subscribe to A More Perfect Union podcast. That way you'll get our weekly drop, usually the end of the week on Fridays. And so stick around for that. Now, listen, it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. But just before we get into headlines, let me just give you a sense of where we're going today. In hour two, we're really going to stretch out with Bishop Joseph Tolton. He's an expert on white Christian nationalism. He is no stranger here. He also serves as one of our go-to international affairs contributors. We're going to talk to Bishop Tolton about Trump versus the New York Times. This is discrimination lawsuit from the EEOC that's shaken up the media world. We're going to talk about that, but also the tension with the Vatican as Trump lashes out yet again at Pope Leo right before Marco Rubio's visit to Rome this week. Also, when we talk about TikTok, there's been a study on TikTok in the 2024 election, and spoiler alert, there was a tilt. There was a tilt. And in this hour, a little bit later, we'll hear from the legendary, honorable Willie Brown, former mayor of San Francisco. A lot of people think of him as also one of the great mayors of America. He's here to talk about the state of Black political power. He's also going to drop a bombshell right here on A More Perfect Union. He's making an official endorsement in the California governor's race. We'll hear all about that in short order. But right now, as I said, it's time for your national news roundup. It's time for you to decide the good, bad, and ugly headlines of the day. Kicking us off, the LA Times reporting that a major LA freeway is closed by underground fire linked to possible homeless encampment. A deep-seated, stubborn fire ignited in what appeared to be a homeless encampment underneath freeway route right here in LA. And the extent of the damage it caused remained unclear as of last night, according to fire officials. The fire was reported at 8:50 p.m. Monday, burning deep inside 150 to 200-foot tunnel near the West Harry Bridge Boulevard. That's according to the LA Fire Department. The tunnel was packed with wood and mattresses and other items common to homeless encampments. The fire caused disruption on a key route that trucks use to access the port of LA and San Pedro, basically southbound on the 110 freeway. Lanes in San Pedro were closed for hours. By yesterday evening, fire crews had extinguished the blaze, filling up the entire tunnel with 150,000 gallons of water mixed with foam. Crews still remain on the scene. They will remain on the scene overnight and into the morning, using vacuum trucks to drain the water out and reopen the tunnel so engineers can reevaluate conditions and determine whether it's structurally safe. This is one of the costs of doing nothing or doing not enough to address the issue of homelessness, to support the unhoused in the city. A lot of folks talk about it as if it's a public nuisance. And don't get me wrong. I mean, some of the blight when it comes to some of these encampments is hard to turn away from. But we don't talk about it as a public safety hazard. It can get chilly here in LA, and there are a lot of folks that have encampments that take matters into their own hands, and they'll create a little fire to keep themselves warm. They'll create a little fire, to do a lot of things. And when those fires get out of control, fires that are happening in places they have no business happening, that can become a public problem, a very public problem. And so this is just a reminder that we need to be paying extra close attention in the mayoral race as to, what are people actually going to do about the problem? And what have people done to address this issue in a substantive way? It's easy to talk about how it's a problem. It's another thing to point to solutions, to come up with solutions, to have a plan. And so this is just a story that serves as a reminder that the stakes are quite high, not just here in the city of Los Angeles, but across the country when it comes to really addressing the challenges with the unhoused in a substantive way. We are now joined by Fox News contributor and contributing writer to Forbes.com. Our friend and brother, Richard A. Fowler, joins us live from Washington, D.C. Richard, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday, hanging in there. And in fact, there are a number of guardians of our democracy that are hanging in there, particularly this hour in Virginia. The Washington Post reports that the FBI has raided the business of Democratic Virginia State Senator Louise Lucas. The FBI raided the Portsmouth office and cannabis retail business co-owned by State Senator Louise Lucas, who's the president pro tem of the Virginia Senate and one of the most powerful Democrats in the state, as a part of this ongoing corruption investigation. The specifics of the probe remain unclear, though officials who spoke on conditions of anonymity discussed details of the investigation. They said it involved allegations of bribery related to the cannabis dispensary. And one of the officials said the investigation began during the Biden administration. Richard, are you buying the timing of this? We know that the senator here was out front leading efforts to redistrict Virginia, to draw out more Democratic, more seats that are favorable to Democrats. That plan was successful, although it's being challenged in the courts. Is this smelling like Trump retribution or something else?
I mean, I think that's the hard part here to understand, because the Justice Department, since Trump has taken office, has been the retribution department. It is very hard to distinguish whether or not this is a previous investigation, whether this is an above board investigation, or this is Donald Trump, Kash Patel, and acting Attorney General Blanche carrying out the bidding of somebody they do not like because they've changed the maps against the president's favor. And we just don't know the difference between the two. And this is the shadow that has been cast in Washington and beyond Washington on the Justice Department and any action that they take against anybody who is not in Donald Trump's party. And I'll go even further, anybody who said anything bad about Donald Trump, right? Because of this, because of what we've seen him do against Letitia James, against James Comey, against the director of the feds, Jerome Powell. This list is long. I mean, he's also gone after the senior senator from Arizona. This is such a long list that he's created, that it's created this shadow of a doubt on whether or not the Justice Department is acting above board. So if it smells, it smells. And this is part of the problem here. We don't know if this is a real investigation. We don't know. I mean, obviously, there is a real warrant signed by a judge, and there's a real affidavit that is attached to that warrant that gets us this sort of raid of her cannabis shop and this business that she has in Portsmouth, Virginia. But we don't know the nature of and the basis of this investigation. And so now there's a lot of people crying foul play. And there's a lot of folks out there that want to believe that, whether it's true or not. And that speaks to what Donald Trump has done to the Justice Department.
A lot of people crying foul play, a lot of people suggesting foul play, including Representative Bobby Scott, Democrat of Virginia, who said today, quotes, while we await the full facts of the investigation, it must be acknowledged that the FBI raid occurred in the broader context of President Trump's repeated abuse of the Department of Justice to target his perceived political opponents. Representative Scott said in a statement that cited Trump's efforts to prosecute, to your point, Democratic members of Congress, as well as New York Attorney General Letitia James, the former FBI director, James Comey, and Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. When we come forward, Richard, I want to talk about the politics of this, the way that Democrats are responding or should respond in this moment when we know heading into the midterms that the people across the country are focused on affordability. How does this fit into this frame, or does it? You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with Richard A. Fowler. You're listening to A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte, and we're here talking to Richard Fowler. Richard A. Fowler. He's Fox News contributor and contributing writer for Forbes.com. Richard, we've been talking about the raid, the FBI raid in Virginia, the Virginia State Senator Louise Lucas, and this seems to fit a pattern that fits into the political retribution frame that so many folks have gotten caught up in since President Trump has returned to the White House. Let's talk about the politics of this. If this is indeed just raw political retribution, then let's talk about how we navigate the politics, given the fact that most Americans don't seem to care so much about the political retribution. They seem to care about affordability. They seem to care about a government that's actually making their lives better and not more difficult. And so in this terrain, are there examples of Democrats, aside from Mayor Mondami of New York, that seem to understand that and seem to be navigating the terrain relatively unscathed?
Well, look, I think I actually think two stories are connected, right? Because you have to think about why Louise Lucas has found herself in the crosshairs of Donald Trump. And the reason why she's found herself in the crosshairs of Donald Trump is because of this redistricting fight. And this redistricting fight was triggered off in Texas, right, where the president said he wanted 5 more seats so he could win the House of Representatives. Him winning the House of Representatives is about one thing in particular: having political control. Political control is how he maintains power. Political control is how he continues this, what at this particular point in time is an illegal war in Iran. This illegal war in Iran is directly connected to $8 prices in California, right? Congress, over and over again, Democrats have tried to put up a bill that would stop Donald Trump from continuing this war in Iran, but they do not have the votes. What Abigail Spanberger, Louise Lucas, and the Speaker of the House has tried to do in Virginia is to redo that map to give Democrats a little bit more leverage, right? Give them a little bit more seats in the House so they can have the ability to control the House. If Democrats control the gavel in the United States Congress that would give them a little bit more leverage to say, hey, Mr. President, we're not going to allow you to continue on a war that the American people find woefully unpopular. Both Democrats, independents, and a lot of Republicans alike think this war is unpopular. And we know this war is going to lead to an affordability crisis, not just with gas prices. We're also talking about the cost of fertilizer. And I think that's the story that nobody's really talking about, because gas prices you see and it's an immediate thing. But fertilizer, we know that the cost of fertilizer is up about 75 to 80%. And that's a lagging economic indicator. And just think about it this way. I've been saying this all day. If I plant tomatoes today, I won't see those tomatoes for 6 months. But there's a lot of farmers who are deciding they're not going to plant tomatoes at all this season. So you won't see tomatoes in 6 months, which means the cost of tomatoes, the cost of your butternut squash, the cost of your grapes, the cost of your bananas, the cost of your avocados are going to go up, because there's going to be a decrease in the supply of those products. Or the ones that you do see in the marketplace are going to go up because the cost of the inputs, i.e. the fertilizer that make them a reality, are higher costs, because a lot of that product comes from the Persian Gulf. And so this is a direct impact, right?
Yeah.
And so I think these two stories are very connected. It's hard to see the linkages there, but they're there.
Well, let me just say, I was just at the grocery store this afternoon, purchased 2 avocados for $6, and so,
And there you go.
given what you just said, that may be a part of why prices seem to be climbing. While we've been on air, a little bit of breaking news here. Federal judge has ordered the Epstein suicide note unsealed. ABC News and other outlets reporting that a suicide note purportedly left behind in his jail cell by Jeffrey Epstein before he first attempted to kill himself. His former cellmate, a convicted quadruple murderer, by the way, he claimed that he found the note tucked in a book in the days after Epstein's first suicide attempt. This was in July 2019. At the time, Epstein denied being suicidal and told a psychologist, quotes, "I have no interest in killing myself." A federal judge has ordered the note unsealed today, giving the public and investigators the first look at this purported suicide note. The cryptic one-page handwritten note offered a few new details about Epstein's purported motivations, and there is no confirmation that Epstein himself authored it. Richard, talk to us about how much this plot twist sort of shifts the landscape. We know that President Trump is deeply unpopular. A 67% disapproval rating for him. We know gas prices are heading in the wrong direction. Folks are upset about that. We've been talking about the price of other goods and services. And for folks that are considering themselves guardians of democracy, his political retribution tour isn't winning him any friends either. Talk about the timing of this as we are getting closer and closer to more primary elections and the midterms. What does this plot twist mean for the president? And also, what does it mean in terms of what his Democratic opposition does with this information?
I do think this story, the drip, drip, drip on this Epstein story is, to me, what I find to be the most oddly fascinating thing about this news story, right? It's a story that's existed for almost 2 years, and it just does not seem to be going away for Donald Trump. Every day there's a new drip. This is not the only drip that happened today in the Epstein story. The second drip that happens today is his Commerce Secretary testifies behind closed doors to the Oversight Committee. And basically, we're not really sure, but it seems as though he sort of lies a little bit. He says he didn't know Epstein. He didn't go to the island, but there's pictures of him on the island. And he says, well, if I was on the island, but I tried to avoid Jeffrey Epstein when I was on the island. And so it just seems as though that Donald Trump and his friends cannot seem to untangle themselves from Jeffrey Epstein. And the reason why this is not a good look for Donald Trump is because of the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and the Jeffrey Epstein victims. And this just sort of becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy that Jeffrey Epstein was sort of allowed to get away with almost everything for many years. And many of the guys connected to Donald Trump in this moment seem to be the same type of people,
Yeah.
right? And I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. And therein lies the problem for the president as we get into this midterm elections where his popularity rating seems to be the lowest it's
Yeah.
ever been. He can't get away from this story either. And,
Yeah.
this is just really, and what makes this more interesting is that Donald Trump is usually very good at dancing his way out of these negative storylines. Not on this one.
Not on this one, and not when there's a 24-hour news cycle. And speaking of the 24-hour news cycle, today, the media industry lost a pioneer, someone who's being called not just a rabble rouser, but a trailblazer and a do-gooder. CNN founder Ted Turner has died at the age of 87, the bullish founder of CNN and a suite of other cable channels, not to mention Bison Steakhouse, a nonprofit designed to prevent the proliferation of nuclear weapons and an international sports competition. He died today at the age of 87. He had announced just before his 80th birthday that he had a degenerative disease that caused dementia and muscle failure. He launched CNN, the nation's first continuous
24-hour
all
cable
news
news channel.
television,
Yeah.
by really sort of taking over a small little station in Atlanta, Georgia, a small little TV station, and turned it into this international behemoth. You're in the cable news business. You likely wouldn't be on Fox News doing what you do if there wasn't a 24-hour news cycle. How are you remembering the legacy of Ted Turner today?
Well, he'll be gravely missed. And I actually remember meeting Ted Turner. I met him when I was in high school. Ted Turner was a prolific sponsor of the National Forensic League debate tournaments. I was a four-time qualifier to the National Forensic League debate tournament, and he attended one, and I got a chance to meet Ted Turner. And so his legacy is one that not only sponsored the environment, but also believed in students having a rigorous debate. And so may his legacy be a memory and a blessing, because he did make this country better. And I think, in this moment, I think he would look as he sort of passes away, as we lose this icon. I'm sure he would look back and sort of say to himself that we're moving in the wrong direction. Because when he created CNN, the ideal was to open the world up so that more people would see the news, more people would understand the news, because he created the 24-hour news cycle because he got home after 7, and he wanted people to get the news if they got home after 7. And now we're in a news cycle that has become more consolidated by the rich and the wealthy, and folks are not getting the news after 7. And I
Yeah.
think that would probably break his heart.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, I also want to give a hat tip to the legacy of Ted Turner. I interned for Larry King when I was in college, Larry King Live. And Larry King was one of the first hires that
That's
Ted
right.
Turner made to CNN. And so the legacy of Larry King wouldn't be possible without Ted Turner. And my being part of this industry wouldn't be possible without Larry King. And so we're all interconnected. My thanks to Richard A. Fowler, Fox News contributor and contributing writer on Forbes. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. The mayor, the honorable former mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, joins us when we come forward, and he's got a big announcement. He's made an endorsement in the California gubernatorial race. You don't want to miss this. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte, and it is an honor to welcome to the show the Honorable Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco, the former Speaker of the California State Assembly, a legend in California politics, a legend in American politics, is here to join us. Welcome to the show, Mr. Mayor.
I'm pleased to be on. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
Well, pleased to have you on the air. You're making quite a bit of news here in California. We're going to get to that in a second. But a number of folks are following this story coming out of Virginia, where we're seeing a Virginia state senator has been the target of an FBI probe. The FBI has searched the state Senate leader's hometown office. They have searched one of her businesses as a part of a corruption investigation case. What do you make of this, particularly considering that this wasn't just any old state senator? This is a state senator that led the redistricting effort in Virginia that was victorious at the ballots, even while it still continues to be litigated in the courts.
She led it in what direction?
Well, she led the redistricting efforts to victory. Not
on behalf of the existing Voting Rights Act.
That's well, when it was existing, yes.
Yeah, but it did exist, but she must have led a successful Voting Rights Act effort, and she must have elected some people and got people elected to the House based upon the Voting Rights Act authorization for how you should be drawing the lines. I don't know anything else about the incident that she was involved in. So I do not know whether or not the Trump administration, if it is the Trump administration who's trying to prosecute, is doing so for their political reasons.
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely something for us to sort of keep our eye on. There are a lot of people, as you can understand, Mr. Mayor, that, are suspicious when there is an FBI raid of an elected official who's been on the opposite side of an issue with this president. Not just elected officials, but you look at former FBI Director James Comey. You look at a long list of folks that have been on the wrong side of this president. Mr. Mayor, you have seen many presidents, and you have seen and politics in at its best and politics at its worst. Just the fact that we're raising the question. That Representative Bobby Scott is raising the question as to whether or not this could be part of some sort of political retribution. What does it say about the health of our politics?
Well, that's the way politics are being played in this country since Mr. Trump managed to win the presidency again. So nothing, frankly, shocks me that he would do to people who would be considered his enemies. Mm-hmm. He's done it to everybody, and he will keep on doing it.
Mr. Mayor, are you concerned about the state of particularly Black political power? When people look at the legacy of folks like yourself, many leaders, many founders of the Congressional Black Caucus, when people, look back at your contribution to the body politic, they can't overlook, what it's meant in terms of developing Black political power. Once upon a time, we had, a handful of Black electeds in office across the country. Now, well over 1,500 Black electeds across the country and counting. How are you reflecting on the state of Black political power in this country right now?
I think Black political power in this country is being reduced almost every day, simply because the nature of the people who are succeeding at winning the authority to change things in their direction. The Trump administration has been doing that since Mr. Trump won, when he won the first time. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that we are looking at the distinct possibility, until somebody else is elected, to continue to see our numbers being diminished. And they will be diminished through the world of politics and the exercise of political power by our opposition, and to the absence of any equality through the court system under the law, because he's been smart enough as president to drive the appointment process involving judges in a direction where the interpretation of the facts and the rules that are out there are going to be, more times than not, ruled in favor of our common enemies. That's the nature of politics in this country today.
Mr. Mayor, I remember growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area back when you were mayor of San Francisco. I remember when Oakland's mayor, Ella Lou Harris, led that city. What are the odds that we will see, another Black mayor, the possibility we could see another Black mayor of a city like San Francisco, where, to your point, the demographics have been shifting, away from any sort of significant Black voting bloc in a city like San Francisco?
We are down to under 5% Blacks in San Francisco. There's absolutely no basis for being optimistic about the potential for being able to establish what we established from about 1970 to the present day. We had a Black woman, holding the mayor's job, defeated by the incumbent mayor. And he was not a Trumpite. He was a well-to-do young man from private schools with a family with unlimited resources. And we lost that gig. However, about the same time, Barbara Lee, a Black woman, won the mayorship in Oakland because of the efforts made on a recall, and she ended up winning when that special election came about. There is a Black woman who won the job of district attorney of Alameda County, Black woman who won district attorney of Contra Costa County, a Black woman who won the job in San Francisco as district attorney as a result of recall. So there are some positive steps that's being evidence of an ascendancy where there's good quality and good quality voters, etc. So I'm still optimistic about California in a very positive way. Just think, statewide, we currently have 3 persons holding statewide office who's Black in California. Superintendent of schools, Black, but he's now running for governor, and he's not going to win, but he's running. Then we have Black Secretary of State appointed by Gavin Newsom, and then she is going to win re-election, Shirley Weatherford out of San Diego. And then we have Malia Cohen from San Francisco. She's the controller. And those are all very good steps. We have 2 or 3 Asians who have won similarly. And so there's no reason why we ought to be sad. We ought to be demonstrating how joyful it is to be able, where we don't have even the numbers, to still win. And we have to limit about when we lose one, like we did in San Francisco. And we will lament again if Karen Bass loses in Los Angeles. She obviously is up for re-election. She may or may not win. But I'm thinking she's going to win. And I'm hoping she's going to win. And we're working to get her to win. So there's still reason to be optimistic about the electoral process in our state.
Mayor Brown, when we come forward, you've made a little bit of news yourself, a little political earthquake you made. You've made an endorsement in the California gubernatorial race. Spoiler alert, it's not Tony Thurmond, the superintendent of public instruction. It's someone else. When we come forward, I want to give you an opportunity to reveal who that individual is and talk us through how you arrived at that endorsement and not others in the race. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward with the Honorable. You are listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Dr. Nii-Quartelai Corte. I'm really delighted to be in conversation with the Honorable Willie Brown. Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco, is here and making a pretty big announcement. Mayor Brown, you have decided who you're going to endorse in the California governor's race. Lay it on us. Who is it and why?
I'm endorsing Tom Steyer. I believe that he is the best of all the candidates running that has a chance of winning. I have a collection of friends among the 8 Democrats who have evidenced an interest in running and are trying to run. And one of them, Betty Yee, a woman who was serving as in some statewide capacity for a period of time, she is not and cannot, in my opinion, win. She's dropped out and said she can't win. So I went down to the next group of persons on my list, and on that list was Tom Steyer. And in my conversations earlier in the day and early in the time was with a woman who Newsom had designated to cover banks and handle banks, Cloette Hewitt. And Cloette Hewitt told me about her membership on a board involving a bank with Tom Steyer. And then I took a look at the rest of the names of the people and found out that literally it's the only bank in the state of California that he is in control of that has more people of color on board members than any other. So it was easy for me with the remaining persons who could possibly win. Antonio Virrigosa, a very good friend of mine, and probably one of the most talented candidates that could run the state. But he's 2 or 3 or 4%. Tony Thurman, superintendent of schools, less than 2%. And so in the world of politics, you want to win. You just don't want to end up singing somebody's praises, but they lose. Tom Steyer was the guy left in the race that represented the best chance to win for what I believe in and for Black people. That's why I endorsed.
Mayor Brown, in our remaining minutes, I one of the questions that I see a lot of California voters struggling with is putting a billionaire in office. Can you quickly talk us through, whether or not that was a mental hurdle for you at a time where we see, more billionaires running for office, and we're not seeing necessarily the best behavior as guardians of democracy from the billionaire class. I would note for our leaders, learners, and listeners across the country, California is actually considering putting a billionaire tax on this ballot, while also folks are wringing their hands trying to decide if it makes sense to put a billionaire in the governor's office. Talk us through how you landed the plane on that question.
That's an easy decision to make. Why would I not be an admirer of somebody who earns a lot of money legally by being smart, by investing appropriately, or by creating something that causes him to receive great rewards? I'd like to be able to do that for Willie Brown if I could. Otherwise, I will never criticize somebody who makes that kind of money and say, for some reason, you are disqualified from leading this state if you are otherwise qualified because you made so much money. It instantly, for me, means he doesn't have to take money from anybody for anything. He can go on to do for the state for what he did for himself.
Is Is there such thing as a good billionaire when it comes to progressive issues?
Forget identifying issues as progressive and non-progressive. It's human rights that I'm concerned about, period. Progressives is not something that means I should immediately say I would discriminate against you because you make good money. That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why we, the people, are criticizing people who make money.
Mayor Brown, again, in our remaining minutes with you, I could talk to you for days about so many issues in California and across the country and our future, and we would love to have you on to continue to do so. But I have to ask you, you've made an endorsement in this race. What about some of the other high-profile politicos in California? We have not seen our sitting governor, Gavin Newsom, make any endorsement in this race. We've not seen former Vice President Kamala Harris endorse in this race. Well, we have seen her endorse Mayor Karen Bass for re-election and Rob Bonta and a few others. Mom has been the word on this race. What's your message to them about putting their weight behind whether it's Steyer or some other candidate?
Well, that's what happens in the world of politics. People sometimes endorse and sometimes they don't endorse. And I'm not prepared to condemn them for failing to endorse, period. And I love the idea that people who have held public office or do hold public office are saying to me, X is better than Y for their purposes. I admire that, I respect that, etc. And I just wish that they would do as I've done. In this case, endorse Tom. In other cases, endorse some of the other people that I've endorsed. For an example, the Lieutenant Governor, Fiona Ma. I've endorsed her. She's an Asian CPA accountant. Her opponent is a black guy who was mayor of Stockton for a minute.
Michael Tubbs.
That's right. And in my opinion, she's a better qualified person for the job than he is. She's currently the treasurer of the state of California, and I'm endorsing her. And she's an Asian woman. So it's not unusual for those of us in the world of politics to be different on whom we endorse. And it is not good for us to endorse only on ethnicity and not on other qualifications.
Our thanks to the honorable Willie Brown, the former mayor of San Francisco, former California State Assembly Speaker, a political legend around these parts. Mr. Mayor, I hope we get to have a chance to have you back again before the election. Thank you so much for sharing your endorsement and your political know-how. You're listening to and streaming A More Perfect Union on KBLA Talk 1580. Bishop Tolton joins us in our next hour.